On February 24, 2022, Russia launched a large-scale military invasion of Ukraine with the stated objective to demilitarize and denazify the country. Reports indicate that around 240,000 Russian troops were involved in the initial invasion, with the majority crossing the border into Ukraine from multiple points. The move was unexpected and caught the Ukrainian government and military off guard. In this video we will go over 9 facts about the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Number 1. The conflict actually started in 2013. In 2013, Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych faced increased pressure from his citizens to accept a resolution that would allow for closer economic ties with the European Union. When Yanukovych refused, protests in the capital city of Kyiv began in response. After police intervention, the number of protesters dramatically increased in order to contest the brutality of their treatment. Russia backed Yanukovych in the crisis, while the US and Europe supported the protesters. Yanukovych fled Ukraine in 2014, leaving a power vacuum that Russia quickly filled by occupying the country. Russia, trying to salvage its lost influence in Ukraine, invaded and annexed Crimea the next month. Since then, the European Union has systematically cut all economic ties with Russia through 8 comprehensive sanctions packages. Number 2. Allied power. In 2022, Russia's active military personnel was over 4 times the size of Ukraine's. Russia also had 13 times more aircraft, 2.4 times more armored vehicles, and 16 times more naval vessels than Ukraine. Russia had the 4th largest military spending in the world in 2021, at nearly $66 billion, while Ukraine spent almost $6 billion. To counter the Russian military's advantage, Ukraine has received substantial military aid from Western countries, most notably the United States, which has helped prevent the Putin forces from advancing to Kyiv. Number 3. Who is winning the war? Before the Russian invasion, it was widely believed that Russia would easily win a conventional war due to its far superior military strength. Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, even predicted that Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital, would fall within 72 hours of a Russian invasion. However, almost a year later, Ukraine is still firmly in control of Kyiv. Despite some gains that Russia has made in the east and south, Ukraine's defenses have proved to be remarkably resilient, even allowing for counteroffensives. This unexpected strength of Ukraine's defenses has led many military experts to reassess their pre-invasion predictions. Number 4. Biggest refugee crisis since World War II. The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has caused one of the largest refugee crises in Europe since the end of World War II, with more than 6 million people displaced. As of November 2022, over 7.8 million Ukrainian refugees were recorded across Europe, of which 4.7 million were granted temporary protection or similar national protection schemes. In response, the European Commission recently allocated an additional €100 million to the 7 EU member states that host the most refugees from Ukraine: Poland, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Ukrainians have also been granted unprecedented access to the Temporary Protection Directive, which allows them to live, work, and attend school in the EU for 3 years without needing to go through the official asylum process. Number 5. The war is putting a financial toll on world economics. The conflict in Ukraine is a major setback for the global economy, leading to slower growth and higher prices. These impacts will be felt through 3 main channels. Firstly, higher commodity prices such as food and energy will drive up inflation and decrease the purchasing power of incomes. Secondly, countries in the region will suffer from disrupted trade, supply chains, remittances, and the influx of refugees. Thirdly, reduced business confidence and increased investor uncertainty will lead to lower asset prices and tighter financial conditions, likely leading to capital outflows from emerging markets. Russia and Ukraine are major producers of commodities, and the disruptions have caused global prices to skyrocket, particularly for oil and natural gas. Wheat prices, of which Ukraine and Russia make up 30% of global exports, have reached record levels. In Ukraine, the already immense toll is further exacerbated by unprecedented sanctions on Russia, which will impair financial intermediation and trade, causing a deep recession. The ruble's depreciation is also leading to higher inflation, further reducing the population's living standards. Number 6. Russians didn't really want the war. Most Russians didn't want this to happen. In December 2021, a survey of 3,245 Russians showed that only 8% supported sending military forces to fight the Ukrainian government, and only 6% viewed the West as an enemy. However, 75% still perceived NATO as a risk to Russia. According to analyst Soki, the data indicates that Russians don't think the West should be viewed as an enemy, but they agree with the foreign policy being pursued by Putin. Since the invasion began, protests have broken out around Russia, leading to the deployment of riot police to break up the events. It is estimated that 6,000 people have been arrested and protests have taken place in at least 51 cities, including Moscow and St. Petersburg. The protests are now less about Soviet legacy and more about the loss of life in Ukraine, and the impact of the economic sanctions on Russia. Number 7. You can cut off Russia from the world, but you cannot cut off the world from Russia. As a result of the Russia-Ukraine war, global oil prices have seen a sharp increase. The demand for oil to fuel military operations and disruptions to energy production and exports have caused the price of crude oil to surge above $105 per barrel. This shortage of supply, combined with rising demand, has caused the price of oil per barrel to skyrocket. Further, the economic sanctions imposed on Russia have had a double-edged impact, leading to Russia becoming increasingly isolated in terms of politics and economics. This has not only had a negative impact on Russia, but the economic effects of the war are being felt around the world. Number 8. First social media war. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia is considered to be the first war to heavily utilize social media and digital technology. This conflict also marks a new form of warfare, being the first full-scale cyber war and the first war where both state and non-state actors have targeted information infrastructures of their opponents. The war has received significant attention in the media and on social media platforms, and has sparked discussions about the weaponization of social media, both during and prior to the conflict, and its impact. Number 9. Unintended new strong relationship. Russia has strong historical, economic, and political ties with Ukraine, and the country plays a significant role in Russia's national identity and its international standing. Despite these close ties, Russia has strengthened its military cooperation with China, with President Putin describing the relationship as the best in history. Following Russia's invasion in 2022, Ukraine has moved closer to the West as NATO and the EU have increased their support for Ukraine through defense, economic, and humanitarian aid, as well as imposing sanctions on Russia. Western nations have been cautious in their actions to avoid escalating the conflict further, including the potential threat of nuclear war. There you have it. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.